So good morning, everyone. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yesterday, we were talking about framework for algorithm analysis. And this is the kind of framework we are looking into. As you know, it takes longer time to process larger inputs, like searching an element with longer input size takes the time which is larger than, so it becomes important for us to evaluate or find the performance analysis or time analysis using the size of the input. Then we talked about what is the unit of measuring the running time. We thought about including seconds or milliseconds. Then we said it is not easy to do that because when you are trying to run the program on the particular machine, the time analysis which we are doing depends on lot of external factors. So we said that then it depends on lot of external factors. So we went ahead and thought we will have a notion of unit time consumption. And what we have done in this notion, using this notion, we are trying to count the number of times each of the algorithm instructions are executed. So every instruction in our algorithm, we are counting how many times it is being executed. And we said it is very difficult process to count every operation in your algorithm. And later I have shown you it is unnecessary as well. So we said that for an example of multiplying two numbers using repeated addition, we saw that the time is proportional to the linear equation 5n plus 4. And later for large values of n, right, your 4 became insignificant. That is, in a given the equation, the lower order terms becomes insignificant, and we are only concentrating on the higher order terms. And that's what we have seen in the previous class. And if you plot the time taken on the y-axis and the number of inputs for a particular problem, if you plot it on the x-axis, you can see the time required by your algorithm increases linearly because it's a linear equation. So if you take this equation 5n plus 4 and you change the values of n and plot it along x and y axis, as you can see in the plot, it is increasing in a linear fashion. So this is what was the discussion which was done in the previous class. Then we said it is unnecessary to count the number of every operation, every instructions in an algorithm. Then we said we will find these statements or set of statements which are contributing to most of the running time. So we have seen that the statements which are contributing to the most of the running time is the one which is in the innermost loop. Finding that statement is not difficult. For example, if you are sorting elements in a given array, then it's the operation, the comparison which you are doing is the most significant operation which will contribute most of the running time. So we should be able to find such statements which will be in the innermost loop in an algorithm. Finding that is not difficult. For searching, it is the number of key comparisons which are happening. For sorting as well, it's the number of key comparison. For matrix addition, it is the matrix dimension, which will the value of n, which will contribute to the most of the running time. So finding that is not difficult. So in case if you are trying to do the time analysis or finding the time complexity, you should find the one which the statement in your algorithm which contributes to most of the running time. So our established framework for the analysis of algorithms time efficiency suggests measuring it by counting the number of time the algorithm's basic operation is executed on input of size n. Right? So that's what we are looking into, the most basic operations in an algorithm. So let us take COP be the execution time of algorithm's basic operation. This is execution time for algorithm's basic operation. Right? Then Cn gives us the count of the number of times this operation is executed. Number of times this basic operation is executed. Then we can say the time taken by your algorithm of input size n is approximately equal to time taken for a basic operation into number of times this basic operation is executed. Note that the count Cn does not contain any information about operations that are not basic, and in fact the count itself is often computed approximately. So the count which we are counting in the algorithm is also approximate, and also the count Cn, the Cn does not contain any information about the operation that are not basic. So this is an approximate evaluation of algorithm efficiency, right? And also, so that's what it says. Our framework says that we need to find the most basic operation and count number of times it is executing, which is given by Cn, and each operation of if this basic operation take among the time COP, then Tn is given by COP into C of n. So count the number of times algorithm's basic operation is executed, then Tn is given by COP into C of n, where Tn is the running time, COP is the execution time for the basic operation, and Cn is the number of times the basic operation is executed. Okay, so this evaluation will also help to know that or answer the questions such as how much faster would this algorithms run on the machine that is 10 times faster than the one we have. can we answer this question by knowing the time Tn to execute the program? Can we say that how much time it's going to take, our algorithm is going to take to run on the machine that is 10 times faster? Can anybody answer? If time is Tn on the particular machine which you are running, it takes time Tn. How much faster it will be on the machine which is 10 times faster?
10 Tn, sir.
10 times. So it allows us, the time analysis allows us to find such answers as well. So assume that the count of number of times an algorithm execute is given by the equation half into n minus 1. How much longer will the algorithm run if we double its input size? Let us say we double the input size, then how much longer will the algorithm run if we double its input size? Can you tell me?
4 times.
It's 4 times, right? So as we know, Cn is equal to half into n minus 1, which is equal to half n square minus of half n, right? So as I told, this is approximately equal to half n square. So and if the time taken, if we double the input divided by time taken for the input of size n, then you can say this equation is COP, which we have found in our formula, COP into C of 2 of n divided by COP into C of n. So this will be half. For n, you replace double the size of n, 2n square divided by half n square. This is T of n, this is T of 2n, right? So if you solve then COP is also there here, COP into half of n square, right? So that's cancelled here. So COP will cancel. Without knowing how much time it is going to take to execute one operation, we will be able to say, if you double the input size, how much time it's going to take. If you can see, multiplicative constants are also cancelled out, right? So this will be 4n square by n square. You can see it is 4 times faster, right? So the time efficiency framework through which we are able to find out the time taken to execute the program also allows us to answer such question is, if we run this algorithm on the machine which is 10 times faster, or if we double the input, what is the amount of time it's going to take? We said 4 times. So we are able to answer the question without actually knowing the value of COP. It was also neatly cancelled out in the ratio. Also note that half, which was the multiplicative constant in our formula for the count of Cn, was also cancelled out. So this is for this reasons, the efficiency analysis frameworks which we are talking about ignores multiplicative constant, and we concentrate on the counts order of growth. So we only concentrate on counts order of growth to compare different algorithms. Okay, so assume that Cn is half n into n minus 1. How much longer will algorithm run if we double the input size? It is 4 times. We have solved it. The efficiency analysis framework ignores the multiplicative constant of Cn and focuses on the orders of growth of Cn. As input size increases, the time taken also increases. So we are only concentrating on that in our analysis framework. So it is not for a smaller input. we'll be interested in larger inputs. For example, as we are comparing algorithms which is solving the same problem, if we have an algorithm which takes time n and other takes n square, for input of size 1, 2, 3, it is not much significant to say which algorithm is better. For example, if input is 2, it takes time 2, this takes 4. There is not much difference, and we will not be able to compare these two algorithms for smaller input. If the input is 1000, then the input size is 1000 or 10,000, then the amount of time takes increases, right? The difference is drastically increases. So we concentrate when we are comparing two algorithms to solve the same problem, and we are trying to find out which is the better algorithm. Then the algorithm with n takes lesser time compared to algorithm with n square. So we even if you are talking about the Euclid's algorithm, Euclid's algorithm is better than the other two algorithm, consecutive integer checking algorithm or finding the factors which we have discussed. Which one is better? It is not clear for the smaller inputs, right? If the input for the algorithm to find the GCD is large, then only you will be able to say which among these three algorithms are better. So we actually concentrate on basics, operation counts, orders of growth. For example, as you can see, the orders of growth for different functions. There are some basics functions we will be comparing our algorithm with, like log n, n log n, n square, n cube, 2n, and n factorial. These are all the standard equations which we will be using for comparing our algorithms. As you can see, log n takes very minimal time for input of large size. As you can see, for input of 10, 10 square, 100, 1000, 10 to the power of 4, how these, what is the time taken by each algorithm if it is represented by these equations like log 2 and n. So compare n and n cube. For input of 10, the algorithm with the orders of growth n takes 10 to the power of 1, 10, wherein n cube takes 10 cube. If you increase it by 100, the orders of growth of n takes only 100, the time which is equal to 100 units, wherein n cube takes 10 to the power of 6. For 1000, it takes the time units which is 1000, but you can see a significant increase in the equation n cube. This is this reason when we are comparing an algorithm with complexity n and n cube, we compare through orders of growth. So we will only concentrate on counts order of growth. The count is, we are counting the most basic operation which contribute to the most of the running time in a machine. So that is the other notion or other point which we will add in our framework. If you plot, as you can see, there is functions called log n, n log n, n square, n cube. So if you plot, you can see the blue, the log n takes minimal time for inputs of larger sizes, right? Wherein n cube takes longer time for larger inputs. That is evident from the graph which is shown here. If you find an algorithm, different algorithm with different complexities like log n, and log n, and for varying input size, if you plot the graph, it is clear that the n cube for the larger inputs, the algorithm with complexity n cube is taking larger time compared to the log n and n. So with this, we have come to conclusion saying that algorithm efficiency depends on the input of size n, but it's not always true. For some algorithm, it also depends on the specific of the particular input. For example, if you are doing a sequential search on a given set of elements, if you are able to search the element in the first iteration, that is the first element is the one which you are looking for the search, this particular search will take minimal time among all the inputs which you give, right? So if the element does not exist in your array, then you are going to search for n times, right? Or if the element which you are finding is the last element in an array, then your algorithm for such an input, your algorithm is going to take maximum amount of time for searching in those two cases. That means to say the time efficiency does not only depend on the input of size n, it also depends on the specifics of the instance which we are giving. You can find it in one iteration or you may find it in n iterations, depending upon whether the key exists at the last position and key may not exist. So when you are doing the algorithm efficiency, you also need to do the efficiency analysis for best case input, worst case input, and on an average how much time it's going to take. If you are giving different types of input to your algorithm, on an average how much time this algorithm is going to take. So let us discuss with an example of sequential search, and I'll show you what is the we will do the analysis for best case input, worst case input, and later we will also see how we can find the average case analysis for the given problem. So the example is sequential search, and all of you know that given a list of n elements and a search key, you should find element is equal to k or not. You should search linearly. You should take each element of an array, compare the key element with the elements of an array. If you find the element, you are printing it as success. If you don't find the element, then you say it is an unsuccessful search. So what you do, you write an algorithm which scans the list and compare its successive elements with the key element until either a matching element is found, which is called successful search of the, or if list is exhausted, that means to say you have not found the element. So if a sequential search problem is given with the input size as n, what kind of input would make the running time the longest? How many key comparisons are going to happen if it is taking the longer time to search an element? So that's what we are going to do the analysis on sequential search. The slide shows you the algorithm. What does the algorithms are written in this fashion? This is the way in which algorithms are written by Levitin. So you should also follow the same notations while writing an algorithm. If you ask you to write an algorithm for certain problems, which we are going to discuss one by one from unit 2, and if you ask you to write an algorithm, you should follow the same notations which is shown here, right? So algorithm name is sequential search. The input to algorithm is set of array elements and the key element to search. What does this do? It searches for a given value in an array by an algorithm called sequential search. Input is an array indexed from 0 to n minus 1, which is equal to n elements. The other input which you are going to give is the key element key. What does the output? It returns the index of the first element of A that matches with key element k. If you don't find a match for a key element in the array, then you are going to return -1. So initialize I is with 0, 0. So take an array. So you take an array of elements and give a key element till I reaches n, till I is lesser than n. If the key element is not equal to the element in the array, you increment. If you exhaust the list, you will come out. If I is lesser than the number of elements, then you will return true. Right? That means to say if the value of I is lesser than n, you found the element. If I exceeds the n, that indicates that you are not able to search the element, then you are returning -1. So worst case efficiency is the efficiency for the worst case input of size n. For this kind of input, the algorithm runs the longest among all possible input which you give to this particular algorithm. So what is the worst case scenario? How much time it is going to take? If you find the element in the last position or element may not exist, both constitute the worst case efficiency. So how much time it's going to take? Can you tell me? How many comparisons? The most basic operation here is comparison. How many comparison it's going to make?
N comparisons.
So you'll be making n comparisons. If you happen to find the element at the first position, the key element at the first position, how much time it's going to take?
1 unit.
So it's going to take 1 unit. So the best case efficiency of sequential search is 1. The worst case efficiency, it takes n. What could be the average case efficiency? Can you find out average case efficiency easily here by knowing the best case and worst case? It's not. Because when you are talking about average case efficiency, you may find the element at first position or second or at third position, or it could be at nth position. So for the type of input for the average case, there may be different kind of input wherein the key element could be found at first position or it could be second, third, fourth, or at the nth position. So the probability of we finding the element in this position depends upon the type of input. So that's what we are going to do to find the average case efficiency. So let me show you how we are going to find the average case efficiency. So in average case efficiency, right, the probability of successful search, is P, the probability will be greater than equal to 0 or lesser than equal to 1, right? So the probability of successful search will be greater than equal to 0 or lesser than equal to 1. Give me a minute. Okay. So the probability of the successful search is equal to P, which is greater than equal to 0 or lesser than equal to 1. Then the probability of successful search, 1 minute. The probability of the probability of the first match occurring in the ith position. So if the probability of first match occurring in ith position will be in the list is same for every position I. Do you agree? So the probability of first match occurring in the ith position is same. So what could be the probability if it is same? It will be P by N. So it's equally probable that you may find it at first position, second, ith or nth position. So the probability will be P by N. So the probability of unsuccessful search will be, if probability of successful search is P, so unsuccessful search will be equal to, can you let me know? If probability of search is P, what is the probability of unsuccessful search?
1 minus P by N.
It is 1 minus P. Right? So if it is the probability of search is 1 minus P, how many comparisons you are going to do to check whether the element present or not in case of unsuccessful search? How many comparisons you are going to make?
N comparisons.
N comparison. If probability of finding the element in the ith position, how many comparison you are going to make?
I
The probability of, yeah. The probability of finding the element in ith position is P by N. If you find that element in ith position, how many comparison we are going to make?
I comparisons.
I comparisons. So what will be the total probability? So C, number of count of the basic operations is executed, that is comparison. C average of N will be equal to probability of finding in the first position into probability of search successful search, probability of finding in the second position into probability of successful search, plus probability of finding it in the ith position into probability of successful search, into probability of finding that element in the nth position into probability of the successful search, which is P by N, plus probability of unsuccessful search into number of times you are going to do that. Is this step clear to all of you? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So the count which we are finding out will depends on the nature of the input instances which we are giving, and this is the formula for the same. That means so if you take P by N as common, this will be 1 plus 2 plus I plus N plus 1 minus P into N. So this series 1 plus 2 plus till N will be given by P by N into, it will be equal to N into N plus 1 divided by 2 plus N into 1 minus P. If you solve this, right, you will get P into N plus 1 divided by 2 plus N into 1 minus P. Is this clear? P into N plus 1 divided by 2 plus N into 1 minus P. If the probability of successful search is 1, how much time it's going to take on an average? Substitute in the equation and let me know. If the probability is 1, the C average of N will be equal to, hello? Can you tell me? If probability is 1, probability of successful search is 1. That means you are going to find an element in an array. In this, what is the number of, on an average, how many number of comparisons you are going to do?
N plus 1 by 2.
So, on an average, half of the array it's going to check n plus 1 divided by 2. If probability of successful search is 1. If probability of successful search is 0, then how many comparisons we will make?
N.
N comparisons we will make. Is that clear? So it's not easy to find the average case efficiencies because we need to take care of all kind of inputs which we could give it to our algorithm. So we need to use the probability theory in linear search example to find the average case efficiency. On an average, if it is a successful search, on an average, the time taken is n plus 1 by 2, where n indicates the number of elements in an array. If the probability of successful search is 0, then you substitute 0 here, p. So this terms will cancel out, right? So n into 1 minus 0 will give you probability of unsuccessful search, right, is n, or it is n plus 1 by 2. Almost half of the array on an average your linear search is going to search to find if an element exists in the array. So this is the framework which we are looking at too. So what is the framework which we have come up with? What does it say? So our framework says, given a problem, you are going to measure the size of the input. Then we will measure the running time. We will only measure the statements which are contributing the most of the running time. So this statement will be available in the innermost loop in an algorithm, which is contributing to most of the time for the running time. So our framework says you should find such statement. It also says it is unnecessary to count the number of times each instruction is going to execute. We have proved that it is unnecessary, and we are only measuring the number of times the basic operation runs for a given input. So that's the second point. And we have also seen that for algorithm efficiency, we are seeing some functions called orders of growths of the number of times the basic operation is executed. We are interested in only orders of growth. Then we also said finally that the efficiency does not only depend upon the number of the size of the input. For some problems, it also depends on the nature of or specifics of the inputs which you are giving. For example, in linear search, your algorithm may take different time for different kind of input. You may search at first place itself, so it becomes the best case. Only unit time you are going to take for successful search. Or if the key element does not exist, then you are going to take the time which is equal to n, which is equal to size of the problem. On an average, we have seen we also have to do the average case efficiency as well. This may not be true for every set of problem. If you consider matrix addition, it depends upon the order of the matrix n cross n. So number of additions will depend upon only the size n, not the specific value which are there in the matrices, right? It could be 10, 20. So sometimes when you are trying to see the magnitude for some problems, when you are measuring the time efficiency, the magnitude also becomes important. The magnitude, the time taken depends on the magnitude. For example, if image is or the graph is an input, and it also depends upon the size of the graph. In terms of images, it also depends upon the pixels which you are giving as an input there. So our framework for finding the time analysis is these 4 points. So our analysis framework says both time and space efficiencies are measured as functions of the algorithm input size. Time efficiency is measured by counting the number of times the algorithm's basic operation is executed. That's very important. The efficiencies of some algorithm may differ significantly for inputs of the same size. For such algorithms, we need to distinguish between the worst case, average case, and best case efficiencies. So our framework's primary interest is in the order of growth of the algorithm's running time as the input size goes to infinity. So just a recapitulation of the analysis framework. Are you able to see the PPT now?
Yes, sir.
Worst case, best case, and average case efficiencies. Then you have certain classes of efficiency. So these are all the efficiency classes. Your algorithm may take constant time. It will be represented as 1. It could be efficiency class where your algorithm belongs maybe to log n or n, which is also called as linear, n log n, or n square, which is also called as quadratic, n cube, cubic, 2 to the power of n, which is exponential, n factorial is factorial. All right. These are the classes of functions which you will be relating your orders of growth with, right? Either you will say your algorithm is log n. So this equations we would have got like the one which I have shown you in the previous class, right? So for some things like the equations could be like this, right? 100 n plus 20. This belongs to the class of function n. If it takes a constant time, then we are saying it belongs to this class of functions O of 1. You may have 100 n cube plus 100 n plus 25. As we have seen, we will be concentrating on the basic operation which contributes to most of the running time. That existed here in the higher order terms. There may be some statements which may take 100 n and some statements or the instructions which take constant time 25. So compared to this, the order growth of n cube to n and a constant term, this becomes the most significant for us, which is the most basic operation contributing to algorithms time. So we will ignore this. So we will not consider this. Then such class of functions will belong to this, right? Then you may have something like, log n plus 10. Then this equation was got by finding all the instruction, the count of number of times all the instructions in the algorithm. So if it is log n plus 10, right? So it depends on the function log n, right? So if you have 2 to the power of n plus n cube plus 10n cube 1000 n square plus 1, then this set of function, the time taken t of n, right, belongs to, or this belongs to the class of function which is O of 2 to the power of n. Right? So this is how we are going to look for the efficiencies. We are looking at the orders of growth of most basic operation which contributes to most of the running time. Running time. Right? So then we will have two sets of function called g of n and t of n, right? So we will have two function which we are going to discuss in the next class, that is asymptotic notation. We will have t of n, set of function called t of n, and function called g of n, right? G of n contains set of functions to which we can compare t of n with, right? So that's what we are going to discuss. As you all know, the efficiency framework concentrates on the order of growth of algorithm's basic operation count as the principal indicator of the algorithm efficiency. Now to compare and rank such orders of growth, computer scientists use three notations. So one is called big O notation. The second one is called big omega notation. And third one is called big theta notation. So in our discussion, we will use two functions t of n and g of n, or it could be f of n and g of n. If I use f of n and t of n in my lecture, it indicates the both. It's some function by which we are evaluating the time taken to execute the given algorithm for certain input, right? So that is what it could be t of f n, and we have one more set of functions called g of n. These are non-negative functions. These are non-negative functions defined on set of natural numbers. Okay, just to give an informal introduction about this. So if I say big O of g of n, this is a set of all functions. It's a set of all functions with smaller or same order of growth as g of n. So it's a set of all functions with smaller or same order of growth as g of n. Like if I say n belongs to O of n square, or if I say 100n plus 5 belongs to O of n square, or if you say half n into n minus 1 belongs to O of n square. The first two functions are linear. The first one and second one is linear function. This one is quadratic function. So these two functions, that is n and 100n plus 5, which is linear, have smaller order of growth than g of n, which is n square. Right? Smaller order of growth, which is n square. It is giving some sort of upper bound. If you say Tn is n or Tn is 100 plus 5, 100n plus 5, then these two functions, these set of functions have smaller order of growth than g of n, which is equal to n square. Right? But the second one, which is equal to n square, O of n square, which is also a quadratic function, has same order of growth of g of n. For example, if you take a look here, this is half of n square. This is half of n square minus half of n. So lower order term you neglect. Then this is approximately equal to n square function, n square, which is same order of growth as g of n. Okay. So further we will discuss asymptotic notation using our function t of n and g of n. I'll show you big O, omega and theta notation and the formal definitions of these things also we are going to discuss in the next class. Thank you.